Hey guys, how's it going? Colin here, back with another video this week. Well, tonight here we're kind of getting some wind, snow, and sleet. There's kind of a big storm system moving through the whole middle part of the country, I guess, and I imagine some of you guys are going to be getting some of the worst end of it in some parts of the states. But tonight I'm here to talk about and show you a Pink Floyd album. I'm sure you guys have seen this a million times on t-shirts and videos and stickers and over again on the classic rock stations across the old US here. But this record was recorded in 1972 and released in 1973. And this is Pink Floyd's 8th studio album. It was kind of supposed to be a concept album, which I really initially didn't know about. And I guess each one of their records sort of had a theme, and I never really thought of it that way until they said something, or I read something about it somewhere. But it's Dark Side of the Moon's themes explore conflict, greed, time, and mental illness. Now, the mental illness part of it, I guess, comes from Syd Barrett because he was having some emotional and mental issues around that time, and I imagine a lot of other stuff was going on. But Syd Barrett, he also wrote some pretty good poetry around the time. I have one of his books in my stuff somewhere. So if you get a chance, look up Syd Barrett's poetry. He had some pretty good writing. Now, a story that I kind of have from that Pink Floyd album was back in the, I would say the late 1980s. I had a friend, or I still do have, he's still a friend of mine. He came and picked me up one time at my place, and he had a pretty big Monte Carlo. It was kind of a boat, 1970s Monte Carlo. I forget what color it is. It may have been brown or something like that. But I just remember cruising down the back roads. He came and picked me up, and we drove for a ways out of town, and we were kind of driving down the back roads and feeling a little good, if you know what I mean. And we were floating down the back roads, I guess. Even in that big car back then, you know, those big old cars, sometimes they feel like you're floating on the clouds or something. When you're inside of them, they're really comfortable, actually. And I really enjoyed the rumble of those old engines. Anyways, the story to that is we were floating down a back road. I think we were somewhere outside of Oskaloosa or Tonganoxie. I can't remember, one of those two. And those two little towns are notorious for having a lot of cops around because patrolling the roads and everything, because, you know, out in them little towns, they don't really have anything else to do, so they kind of ride around too, I guess, checking things out. But anyway, yeah, we were floating, and we were listening to Pink Floyd. I can't remember if it was The Dark Side of the Moon or The Wall. It was one of those two records. But, you know, we were kind of out in space ourselves, and the car was all kind of smoky and things. And I think that was on a cassette tape or something then, on his stereo. But no, wouldn't you know it? Next thing you know, we hear the roar, and there's these. You see the lights in the rear view mirror and reflecting off the windshield in the front, and we were pulled over. I wasn't driving; I was in the passenger seat. But I remember he got taken away to the little jail there in town, and They let him drive the car to their little police station in this little town, and we parked it outside of the police station, and I slept in the car all night because he was in, you know, the clink or the pokey. And I slept in the car all night waiting for him to get out, and he finally got out, and we made our way back home, and yes, he was in some trouble. And it was probably a good thing we got pulled over, because you really shouldn't be driving around like that. And we were young and stupid, and more people that didn't think about it. But anyway, I don't do that anymore, and he doesn't. So, we're older and wiser, like most of us should be. And that's my little Pink Floyd story, and the Dark Side of the Moon album. Now, if you wanted to see more of that, it does have the posters that went with the record. They were still in there when I bought it, and usually they're not. It had 2 posters, and I'll show you one of them. Try to here. And there's one of the Pink Floyd posters that were in the record. Trying not to get all the reflection here. There it is. And that's the Pink Floyd. And just because I couldn't remember which record it was, here's the Wall. I also have the Wall. This is Pink Floyd's The Wall. Very similar album, and I guess it's kind of got a theme that goes along with it. And that brings me to the trivia here of I'm going to go with 1972 because I've already shown 2 1973 records and trivia thingies. Now, the 1972 trivia that I have is the top song, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack. The movies were The Godfather, The Getaway, and The Poseidon Adventure. Now you know The Godfather is an all-time greatest movie that everybody seems to like. It's not one of my all-time favorites, but I think it's a very good movie, and it has some moments in there that will always stick with people over the years and throughout all kinds of other movies with the similar feel or theme. Q-tips were 87 cents. Now for the rest of your lives, you will know Q-tips were 87 cents in 1972. A significant event that happened in the world was on January 30th. British troops shot unarmed protesters in Northern Ireland, killing 13 civilians. And that was called Bloody Sunday. And the band U2 eventually did a song called Sunday Bloody Sunday, which they did to memorialize that terrible event. And a memorable quote was, "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse." And that was Marlon Brando from The Godfather. Now, a board game that happened, or that was introduced in 1972 was a game called Boggle. And it was more or less a word search game involving dice. And that's about... It's a word search, pretty much. Whoever gets the most words out of those set of dice and gets the most points wins the game. Now, going along those lines with this sort of spacey music of Pink Floyd is a board game that I've been playing by myself recently. We haven't played it together yet, and that's a game called Thanos Rising. It's from the movie, or movies, the Avengers, and this one is the Avengers Infinity War. If any of you have seen that movie, this is the game they made, one of them for that. This game has a lot of great components to it, a nice figure, dice, all the cards down there. It's very colorful and shiny, and it's also a great game. Now, this is a game that's 2 to 4 players, and this is one of those games they call a cooperative game, to where you as a person, an individual or a group, are trying to beat the board game itself. You're not playing each other. Now, in this game, you're playing against Thanos, obviously. You're trying to beat him before he beats you or kills you, basically, in this game. In these games that they call cooperative games, You can play those solo if you so wish to. You can play two characters out of the game and play both characters against the game itself. Now, any game that you see on a shelf that says cooperative, that means you can play it solo also, even though it doesn't say that. But it's a very fun game. I lost both times I played it. Actually, Thanos beat my ass pretty much. But it was very fun getting my ass kicked. Anyway, and a couple of the components. Here's one of them. Here's Thanos from the game. He's a very nice figure. And he kind of sits in the middle of the game. And when it's his turn, you roll some dice and it'll say which way for him to turn, and he'll turn whatever direction he's facing in. There's cards all around it, and whatever direction he's facing in, those are the people that he's playing against. And every turn somebody turns and he turns too along with it. You each have your own, you have your turn, and then Thanos has his turn, and then you just go back and forth like that. And here's a few of the cards. There's also these enemy cards that sit around the board, and these are the guys who you're trying to defeat. Now, if you defeat 7 of these Thanos' thugs here, you win the game. That's the easy. If you beat 10 of them, you also win the game, but the 10 version is harder, and right now I'm having trouble beating the easy version. Here's some of the heroes. Here we have Star-Lord, and you all know him from the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Black Panther from the Black Panther movies. All these movies were actually pretty good. Here we have Okoye. He was also part of Black Panther's group, but here he's in the red as part of the Avengers group, which is kind of odd that she's not in the Black Panther's group. And she's also in the Walking Dead, if you ever watched that. And here's Captain America, one of the main heroes that's in here. Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange is my favorite of all those movies because it involves magic, and I just like his character the most for some reason. And here we have Spider-Man. That's just a few of the cards. There is a whole bunch more of them from the different Avengers, like the Incredible Hulk and Thor and all those guys. And that's my video for today. I went over my 10 minutes, and I hope you all be safe in this weather that we're having all over. And Colin, over and out, and Weirdos Unite.